do you still think that Alex Peretti deserved to die?
That's a ridiculous question. Come on, you
Why?
can ask a better question than that.
Well, I mean, the
The fact of the
president
matter
just
is,
said
it's not
this.
whether or
No, no,
not,
no,
it's
no,
not
no. The
whether or not.
president. Welcome back to the Tara Palmeri Show. So that one got a little heated. That's Bruce Blakeman. He is the county executive of Nassau County in New York, and he's running in a long shot bid for governor as a Republican with a very pro-ICE and anti-immigration agenda, even as the White House realizes they need to recalibrate. Blakeman doesn't think so. He doesn't think he needs to pull back and actually is questioning the veracity of the videos seen around the world of the murder of Alex Peretti by ICE agents. Needless to say, I did not let up.
Listen,
What?
why the
What's
rush
the
to
other
judgment?
video?
Why don't you just wait till the investigation is
Because
complete?
I can see with my own eyes, and even the White
Okay,
House
so you're the judge and
acknowledges.
jury. You're the judge and jury on the ICE
No,
agent.
it's
Okay,
listen. If you're going to tell me don't believe my own eyes, like don't
listen,
believe that's
listen. There was
House
more than one
acknowledges.
video.
After all, this is about facts. I'm curious to hear what you think. Please subscribe or follow to keep this show going. And of course, go to tarapalmeri.com to sign up for my newsletter, The Red Letter. It's where you can get my exclusive reporting straight to your inbox and a way to support my independent journalism. Take a listen here. County Executive Blakeman, thank you for joining the show. We are in the middle of a lot of news that's breaking past few weeks. But I just want to talk about immigration because it appears that that's something that you're running on in New York for governor as a Republican. And you've said in the past that ICE is doing a very good job and there have been very, very few mistakes. But since then, 2 Americans have been killed by ICE agents. And the Trump administration appears to be pulling back, including sidelining Kristi Noem and signaling changes to the use of force policies. So what, if anything, has ICE gotten wrong? And how do you justify running on an approach that even Trump seems to now be recalibrating?
Yeah, so very simply, in our county, I can't speak for Minneapolis. I don't know about the situation there other than I suspect that there are a lot of people up there that throw bottles and rocks at ICE agents, and I think that's wrong. It was a tragedy that 2 people were killed. We have to wait and see what the investigation determines. But in my county, we've gotten a lot of illegal migrants with criminal records out of our county. We've done it without raids. We don't do raids in Nassau County with ICE. What we do is we have targeted people who are criminals that we remove from our community to make a safer community. So, for instance, just recently, we removed 46 illegal migrants with criminal records ranging from attempted murder and rape to robbery, carjacking, and other crimes. And we've made our community safer. We've made the whole metropolitan area safer by doing that. 27 of them were involved in gang activity. Those are people that would recruit kids into gangs to do their dirty work and drug dealing and robbery and other things. So our relationship with ICE has been a very successful relationship.
You use ICE for that, not local enforcement?
We use both, but unfortunately in New York State with cashless bail, if someone commits a crime, in many instances, a judge has no discretion. They have to let them back out. And in situations where we have illegal migrants who've committed crimes over and over and over again, it's been a revolving door of criminality. So basically, it's another tool in our toolbox where we can call ICE and say, hey, you guys have a detention order on this individual. Do you want to pick him up? Otherwise, this person's going to get out without having to post bail, and they'll be back doing all of the criminal things that make communities less safe. So in our county, it's worked extremely well. But that's being said, I've also said very strongly that we need a comprehensive immigration policy in our country and in our state. I am for a guest worker program. I am for having people who've been here, let's say 7 to 10 years. They're law-abiding. They are gainfully employed. They may have kids in school. I don't think it's a great idea to rip them out of communities and to deport them. I think there should be a path to normalizing their situation here in the United States and allowing them to remain here legally. So I will be a forceful advocate for legislation to do just that, because I think we have to use common sense. I think we have to be practical. And I think we have to have compassion in what we're doing. That's why
you can't
in
do
Nassau
that
County,
as a governor. I mean, that's something at the federal level.
yeah, it's at the federal level, but governors have a big say in what goes on in the federal level, especially with a state as large as New York State. So I would certainly be getting our congressional delegation behind that, because if you really care about the immigrant situation here, then you will find a common sense approach to resolving it. Unfortunately,
I mean, Republicans have had the chance to do this before. They decided
Democrats have had the
against it.
chance to do it. Nobody's done it.
It's
Nobody's
been
done it.
decades and decades. So I think,
Well, that's wrong. You see, what happens is you have the far left who want an open border policy, so they won't settle for anything but.
I don't think.
And then you've got the far right who use this as an issue to raise money. And the reality is that most people are somewhere in the middle. They could be a little right of center. They could be in the center. They could be a little left of center. But most people are in the middle. And the immigration policy of the United States is being dictated by people who are on the fringes. So both the Democrats and the Republicans need to get serious about a comprehensive immigration plan. And I think a guest worker program is the way to go.
Okay. You mentioned that there were protesters that were throwing rocks at ICE agents and bottles. Obviously there have been a lot of aggressive altercations, but do you still think that Alex Peretti deserved to die?
That's a ridiculous question.
Why?
Come on, you can ask a better question than that.
Well, I mean, the
fact of the
president
matter
just
is,
said
it's not whether or not, it's not whether or not, it's not whether or not he deserved to die. The question is it right? Is it legal? And is it good for the community and the fabric of the community to have people throw bottles and rocks at federal law enforcement agents?
He wasn't, though. He wasn't in that case.
Other people were, and it created a dangerous environment.
But he was disarmed.
It created an environment of violent confrontation. That's not a good thing. You don't agree with me? Do you not agree with me that that's not a situation?
But he wasn't creating a violent situation. He actually was trying to de-escalate.
You don't know what he did. You weren't there.
We all saw the video. You saw the video.
I saw two different videos, and we're going to wait. Why did the rush to judgment?
What was the other video? Like,
why?
Because I've never seen this.
Listen, why the rush to judgment? Why don't you just wait till the investigation is complete?
Because I can see with my own eyes, and even the White House.
Okay, so you're the judge and jury. You're the judge and jury on the ICE agent. Okay.
Listen, if you're going to tell me don't believe my own eyes,
don't
believe.
Listen, there was more than one video and an investigation and due process. Federal agents are entitled to due process as well. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, but he's back on the street. He hasn't even been suspended.
Well, there's thousands of people back on the street under cashless bail in New York State. Nobody seems to complain about that.
Do you think
Why don't we move on to another subject? Because
officer,
you and I are not going to agree on this subject. Let's just agree to disagree.
Well, listen, do you think an armed law enforcement officer that killed somebody who was disarmed should be back on the street right now without a
Let me ask you a question. Do you think there should be thousands of people who came here illegally and are engaged in criminal activity, rape, and attempted murder should be here on the streets of America?
I am a journalist. I am asking you. You're the one running for office.
You're a journalist with an opinion. You sound more like an editorialist.
I am stating the facts as we have all seen them. I'm just asking you, do you think that this man deserved to die? And you're telling me my question is crazy.
To me. I didn't say he deserved to die. But you're saying that federal agents deserve to have rocks and bottles thrown at them.
I never said that. I said that does that escalate? I said does that justify the death of another person?
Let's agree that you didn't say that throwing rocks and bottles at federal agents is a good thing.
I said that does that justify it? I didn't say that
law enforcement officers should shoot innocent people. Let's agree on that.
Okay, I think we got to an answer on that one. But you also think that this guy, it's okay for him to be back on the street, this agent, even though the review hasn't been completed.
He's entitled to due process.
Yeah, but due process do
you have a problem with the concept of due process?
If I killed somebody, I would be in detention until an investigation was over.
Depends what jurisdiction you're in. If you're in New York, you'd probably be out on the street.
with what kind of bail or bond? Like, that's crazy. That's not true. If you kill someone in cold blood, you're not back out on the street. Name one person.
Well, we don't know whether it was in cold blood. You know whether it was in cold blood?
We all saw it. The guy was on his hands and knees.
Okay.
Even the administration admits.
Listen,
that
we just agreed to disagree. Didn't we just agree to disagree?
I mean, listen, I just feel like the facts are the facts, you know?
The facts are the facts. So what about the prosecution of people that throw rocks and bottles at law enforcement officials?
I mean, if they are truly...
Are you calling for their immediate arrest?
If they... listen, it depends on the extent of the crime.
You answered my question. Thank you.
But here's the question. I didn't answer your question because I'm a journalist. I want to ask you though. You said that all this is staged, and it's being. You said that the unrest in Minneapolis is being staged and driven by paid professional agitators.
Yes, it is.
What evidence?
You know
do you
that
have
you're a journalist.
What evidence do you have?
You should know that you're a journalist.
What evidence do you have?
We have plenty of evidence. We know who these people are. They're the same people that show up at Antifa. They're the same people that show up at all these rallies. Some of them were at pro-Palestinian rallies. Let me ask you a question. How many people are marching to free Iran or free Venezuela? You know anybody that's marching to do that? How
but
come
that's
they're
not happening
marching?
In our
thousands
country.
Thousands of people were killed by the Ayatollah
in another country,
over the
and
last
people are
couple of
being
days.
killed in our country right now. It's obviously a proximity issue.
There's people being killed by illegal migrants who are roaming the streets here with criminal records, and they shouldn't be roaming the streets. So you want to keep them here?
I don't think anyone can dispute that if someone
I disagree with you on
someone...
that. You want to keep criminals in your community? That's fine.
No, I don't.
I think it's bizarre, but if that's what you want, that's fine.
I never said that. I'm asking you about the evidence.
You told me 4 times you're a journalist.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm wondering why you're asking me all the questions. You're the one running for office. I'm not. Okay, we have two very different roles.
My answers aren't sufficient for you. You're arguing a point of view.
No.
So you're not acting like a journalist. You're not settling for my answers. What you're doing is using the name journalism to get your point of view across. You're not taking my answers and moving on and asking more questions.
You. Is that okay?
All you're doing is continuing to push your point of view, which is editorialism. It's not journalism.
Okay, if you don't want to be pressed, is what you're saying. But if you're going to be the governor of New York, you're going to have to get used to a very aggressive press.
I've answered your questions. You just won't take my answers.
Listen, I worked at the New York Post. If you think I'm editorializing, wait till you get pressed by the city reporters there. Now, let's keep going.
I've been pressed for 4 years by all the reporters in the metropolitan area. And I believe in journalism. I believe in freedom of the press. And that's why I'm probably the most available politician you'll ever find in the state of New York. And that's why I'm on your show today.
Okay. So are you concerned that dismissing public outrage, you are risking alienating voters who are genuinely disturbed by what they're seeing right now? First
of all, as I said, I believe that getting criminals out of our communities is a good thing. I do not believe that people who get shot when they're innocent is a good thing. But the difference between you and me is I'm willing to wait, and I think it's appropriate to wait until the investigation is complete. You're not willing to do that. You're the judge, the jury, and the hangman. Okay. Listen, we all seen the videos, but that's not journalism. That's a point of view. You should be running for office.
If I was a witness to something that happened and I saw it, that is journalism.
Where's your outrage?
Where's
your outrage? Can I ask you a question? Where is your outrage at the people that throw bottles and rocks at law enforcement agents?
I don't think anyone should be attacking law enforcement agents, but I also don't think law enforcement agents were carrying guns.
Did you show any outrage when the 2 ICE agents were killed? No.
Listen, I don't think anyone should be killed. But
don't you think that creates an environment that's dangerous, and maybe this ICE agent was worried about his life?
Okay, listen, I'm not going to go into these rhetorical questions. I don't think anyone should be harmed.
They're direct questions. They're not rhetorical.
But here's the question. Would you allow ICE to conduct the same type of operations that we are seeing in Minneapolis, in Buffalo, in Rochester?
What I would tell you is I would work with ICE to conduct the same operations that they're doing in my county, which U.S. News and World Report says is the safest county in America, where people in my county of every race, religion, ethnic group, people of all lifestyles and abilities get along incredibly well.
Yeah. You know, I know you said that I'm the judge and jury in this case, but actually in the case of
And the
Alex
hangman.
Peretti, but in the case of Alex Peretti, it's actually the DHS that is the judge, the
There
jury,
are
and the
other
hangman.
New York State issues that
No.
we should
But
be talking
you
about.
are running on immigration.
You
So
want-
if
you don't want to talk about-
if ICE comes into
You don't
your
want to talk
community,
about the fact that we're
No,
the
no.
highest tax state in the United States, that we're the most overregulated state in the United States, that hundreds of thousands of people have left our state under Kathy Hochul's lack of leadership,
61%
that we're not affordable, that our
61%
utility
of
expenses
New
are off the roof.
Yorkers, listen, 61% of New Yorkers actually oppose masked ICE agents, okay, and their arrests. That's according to a Siena poll back in November, before the deaths of 2 Americans by ICE agents. Are you concerned about that? Do you think your voters are wrong?
Do I think the voters are wrong? I haven't looked at the poll, and certainly
Came out in November. Siena
I
College poll
am
is one of the most
not
reputable
one that
polls.
believes every poll is accurate, because as we've seen over the last few years, polls are all over the place. So I don't know where you're getting your information from, but I can tell you this much: I just won re-election in a landslide. So I think
but
people
your
like what I'm doing.
Your county, your district is very conservative. It says I'm
No,
talking
it is
about the
not.
whole state.
No, you don't know anything about my
No,
county.
I
My
know
county is
Nassau
a mirror
County is-
image. Can I finish?
purple.
Can I finish answering the question? My county is a mirror image of New York State. Our demographics are almost the same in every category as the state of New York. And there's 110,000 more Democrats in my county. And I won in a landslide by over 36,000 votes. And you're telling me that, my policies are wrong and that my
I'm not
county
telling
is
you your
conservative.
policies are
You
wrong.
don't
I'm
know
asking you-
anything about my county.
First of all,
If you
you're
say
having a
that, you know
conversation
nothing
with
about my county.
You're having a conversation with yourself right now. Do you think that that there should be masked agents in your county and in New York, in the
Listen,
entire
you're obviously
country?
you're obviously
The entire
obsessed by this issue. What I did was
what is-
I took the
that
masks
is a
off
ma-
the
that is a
criminals.
key issue that you're
I
running
took the
on.
masks off the criminals in my county. I took the masks off of people that were committing crimes and committing acts of anti-Semitism and harassment and hate crimes, wearing masks. I took the masks off of those people, but I would not take the masks off of any law enforcement agent who thought that their life might be in danger by performing their duties.
Okay. So in the case of DHS being the judge and jury and hangman, as like you like to say, in the case of Alex Peretti, do you feel comfortable with the fact that they're conducting the investigation into what happened to him? The same people that were involved in his
Well, I believe
murder.
that there are parallel investigations. There's not only the DHS investigation, there's the Department of Justice investigation.
Which is in the same administration, and it doesn't involve state and local
That's very
officials.
unfair. That's very unfair to the people
Why?
in the Department of Justice who are sworn to carry out the law. Now you're making a disparaging remark on all the people that work in the Department of Justice, that they're not going to be honest in the investigation of this
That's
case.
ultimately whatever.
That's unconscionable. You should really be
Yeah.
ashamed of yourself for saying that.
Okay, but what about the fact that ultimately they are led by the Attorney General, who reports to the President of the United States? There's no independence in this investigation. There's no outside count. There's no independent investigation.
Well, listen, hopefully
Special counsel? Do you
there's
think
an
there should be a
independent-
special counsel?
Hopefully there's an independent, free press that's independent, that doesn't rush to judgment, make decisions, basically convict federal officials without an investigation, without evidence. Basically, what you're accusing of them of is exactly what you're doing.
I haven't convicted. I don't have the power to convict anyone. I'm just asking you questions. That's
You
all
have
I
a lot
have.
of power as a journalist.
Well, you know what? You have a lot of power if you want to run and if you become the governor of New York,
When I
you
become
have a
the
lot of power
governor-
as well. So in the meantime, I represent the people.
When I become
and
the
if you want
governor,
to
I'll
answer
make-
the questions, you can keep going.
When I become governor, I will make the people in New York State happy again, because they're miserable under Kathy Hochul, by making it more affordable, by making it safer, by lowering their energy bills, by cutting their taxes and putting more money in their pocket so they don't have to live paycheck to paycheck.
Okay, well, let's talk about your chances of becoming governor. Kathy Hochul is an incumbent. Incumbents have not lost in New York State since 1994. Granted, Lee Zeldin, a Republican, came very close, within 5 points in the last election. She has roughly $20 million in cash on hand. You have about $1.2 million. Much of it was transferred from your Nassau County executive account. What do you think about this limited enthusiasm for your candidacy? How realistic is this?
Well, Kathy Hochul's been the governor for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
The misery factor in this state is the highest it's ever been. Hundreds of thousands of people are leaving. You don't dispute that, right?
I think some people are unhappy. I don't dispute that.
Businesses are leaving our state. Our energy costs are some of the highest in the country because 30% of your energy bill are taxes on taxes. So I believe that the people are not very happy with Kathy Hochul. I will raise the money and I will win this race, just as I won against a popular incumbent 4 years ago when everybody said I didn't have a chance. I was 24 points behind, but I talked about issues. I talked about families in our county, just as I'm going to talk about families throughout the state, how they're suffering and they're miserable. And I want to make them happy again by putting New Yorkers first and not spending $5 billion on illegal migrants who've been here for 15 minutes and haven't earned a thing. That's taxpayer money. That could have been spent on hospitals, on schools, on infrastructure, or on cutting taxes. That's what Kathy Hochul's done. It's a breach of her fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers of this state. So I am very confident by running on the issues that I will be the next governor of the state of New York.
Would you allow for ICE to enter New York City and to conduct raids like in Minneapolis?
You are ICE obsessed. You don't want to talk about how this is not an affordable state. You just brought up
illegal immigrants. You know, this is your issue.
Well, do you think it's appropriate to spend $5 billion of taxpayer money on people who just arrived here, giving them a free phone, free lodging, free food, free transportation? Do you think that's fair to the taxpayers, the hardworking people in this state? Do you think that's fair to them? You think it's fair to the immigrants that came here illegally who got nothing and had to work for everything that they got?
I don't know if that question is for me. Like I said, I'm a journalist, so I guess that's your statement. Would you want Donald Trump campaigning with you, potentially another kind of Madison Square Garden style rally?
First of all, President Trump has endorsed me. He supports my campaign, and I welcome his support. But I'm running for governor. I'm not running for president. And Kathy Hochul's running for governor, not president. And she can talk about Donald Trump all she wants, but I'm going to talk about her record of failure, and I'm going to match it against my record in a county that's larger than 8 to 10 states with 110,000 more Democrats, how I have made the people in this county happy by instituting very common sense policies, putting their interests first, not the interests of other people. And that's what I'll do in New York State. I'll put New Yorkers first. They'll have a governor that cares about them. And my job is to make New Yorkers happy again.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate your time and best
this was
of luck
fun.
on
I
your
appreciate it. Hopefully you'll have me back soon.
Yeah, I might. And I hope by then the judge and jury of the DHS will have a verdict that you feel is sufficient. So I don't know. I think a lot of other Americans have already decided.
Well, I'm glad that we agreed to disagree, because that's the respectful way to have a debate. So,
well, yeah,
my honor to be on.
It's not a debate, though. This is just me asking you questions. You got to, I came from a New York press corps. This is how it works.
Yeah, I know. And I know how it works.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Bye. That was another episode of the Tara Palmeri Show. It was a feisty one. He kept pushing and saying I was a biased journalist, but I think I had a bias towards the facts. Curious to hear what you have to think. Of course, subscribe, follow, share this show with all your friends. That's how you keep me working and in business for you. You can go to tarapalmeri.com and sign up for my newsletter, The Red Letter. And that's how you get my exclusive reporting straight to your inbox by becoming a paid subscriber. It's also a way to support my independent journalism. I want to thank my producer, Eric Apanate. I want to thank Danelle Garcia for the booking. I want to thank Abby Baker on my social media and research. I want to thank Adam Stewart on the thumbnails and Dan Rosen, my manager. As you can hear, the team is growing and it is all good things. Year of the horse, charging into 2026. See you again soon.